If you've ever thought about getting help, but immediately thought, oh no, my license, I need you to hear this. The rules have changed. And what you've been told, or maybe what you're afraid of, might be the only thing standing between you and feeling better. Hello, and welcome to Stress RX. I'm Dr. Michelle Chestovich, and I'm so glad you're here. Quick heads up before we dive in. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and today we're going to talk about physician mental health, including suicide. So if today isn't the day for that, save this one for later, and I'll see you next week. Okay, if you're still with me, here's why I had to make this episode. Every year in the medical community, we lose 300 to 400 physicians to suicide. That's nearly 2 med school classes. And I know this number, not as a statistic, but because 5 years ago, I lost my youngest sister to suicide unexpectedly. So this one is very personal to me. Here's what I want you to know today. One of the biggest reasons physicians don't get help is for the fear that it will cost them their license. And I'm here to tell you that over the last few years, the rules have changed. It is safer to get help than you think. It is okay to not be okay, and it's time to heal the healer. So let's get into it. Okay, so I'm going to talk today briefly about the 3 reasons why we have a higher incidence of mental health issues in medicine. I know that it's not rocket science, but I see it for these 3 reasons. Number 1, our jobs are super stressful. You have a lot of people who are not feeling well asking you to solve their problems. You are dealing maybe with life or death situations. And if you're in the clinic and not dealing with life or death situations, you're probably having to tell people bad news. All of this weighs on us heavily. Who helps us with all of the trauma that we need to deal with on a day-to-day basis? So our stressful work environment certainly contributes to our mental health issues. Number 2, there's a huge stigma. I alluded to that in my intro. So many of us are scared to get help because we're afraid we're going to get our license. Maybe it's something that a mentor told us. Maybe even, unfortunately, you've gone in and an old doc in the past has said, oh, you can't talk about this, you're going to lose your license. It's no wonder that we're afraid. We've spent years and years of our life training to be physicians. This is our calling, our career, our occupation, whatever you want to call it. This is often, the source of income for our family. And so the thought of maybe putting that into jeopardy in order to get help, we think, no, can't do it. Another thing that comes up for people, not only the stigma about getting help, is that we think, well, why should I need help? I'm a physician. I know how to help others. Like, why, can't I just get over this? And that is dangerous. It holds us back. And a lot of times physicians just do what we did in our training. Just think, oh, I'm having a hard time. I just need to get up a little earlier, try a little harder, and everything will be fine. But my friends, sometimes that's not the actual answer. Sometimes things get worse. So why else is it difficult for us to get help? Well, there's not great access. How many of your organizations say early and often, hey, this is where you can seek help? Many organizations share an EAP, an Employee Assistance Program number, and a lot of us are afraid that maybe there will be retaliation. Maybe there won't be good confidentiality. Maybe it's going to affect our job some way. So that's another layer of difficulty that we have, and that is a problem for us getting the care that we need. So what are we going to do about it? The good news is a lot of organizations have been doing work over the years, and I myself as a coach over the last 6 years have really gotten into this work, and I love to share it with all of you. Again, also my family tragedy has made me realize the severity of this problem. I had no idea that we lost so many physicians until after my sister died, and I thought, well, this is crazy. We are in healthcare. We should be helping one another. So why are we not? And again, see above to the stigma that's holding us back. But I have some ideas of some solutions, and again, I'm going to share them with you, and I would love for you to share them widely. Share them with your friends, share them with your organization, because we can be the change that we need to see in medicine. And it starts by listening to the heart. We in medicine love a good mnemonic, and so HEART is how I like to talk about the solutions for mental health issues in medicine. Number one, we need to remember that we're human. So often docs forget this basic premise, and we are going on very little sleep. We're not moving our body. We're not maybe getting the love and connection we need. Maybe we're not eating nourishing food. All of that affects our brain. Our brain is an organ, and it too gets sick. I think a lot of us forget that. Oh, I'll tell my patients to take good care of themselves, but good luck for me. So that's the basic premise, is to remember you too are human, and you deserve very basic sleep, all of that. Sleep deprivation was a huge contributing factor in my sister's death. Now, it wasn't just one thing that caused her to die, but again, we know that our medical model of work like crazy and put ourselves last is not beneficial. So that's the first step. H for human. Number two, educate. We're talking about it. Again, I want you to share this widely with your organization. We need to understand we are an at-risk profession. We don't need to run around screaming like, oh my gosh, we're in danger. But we need to be aware that we high-achieving folks who go into medicine may be higher on the spectrum of anxiety, and we also have brains that can get sick. And oh, by the way, as noted above, we deal with a lot of trauma on the regular in our jobs, and we deal with bad news. And who teaches us how to deal with this? So education is really important to realize we are at risk, and we need to learn some skills to deal with this. The A in heart stands for awareness. Again, let's stop the stigma. 50% of docs said that they would be afraid to get help because they're afraid it might affect their licensing. Well, the good news is, over the last several years, many of the states have gotten rid of that stigmatizing language on our board relicensure, right? The one that says, have you ever had a problem with mental health or substance abuse, right? That's very stigmatizing. Do they say, have you ever had a problem with low blood sugars? Like, why are we treating mental health issues and brain disorders differently than, for example, diabetes? I don't know. It's very stigmatizing. So 43 of the states have gotten rid of that stigmatizing language. And now they ask a question that's more appropriate, something like, are you currently able to adequately care for your patients? Makes sense. Whether it's diabetes or, mental health issues, are you currently doing okay? And if not, please get help. But it's not that stigmatizing language, have you ever? Very, very stigmatizing. Now, again, so a lot of the national boards have made this change. What about your hospital? What about your organization? Have they changed that stigmatizing language? Again, across the nation, medical boards, dental boards, pharmacy boards, nursing boards are trying to get up to the times and do more to help support their employees. It makes a lot of sense. Like, why in healthcare are we not able to get healthcare? Because we're afraid. We're afraid we're going to lose our job. So the good news is that's made some big sweeping change, thanks in large part to the Dr. Lorna Breen Foundation. Dr. Lorna Breen was a physician who died by suicide in the early days of the pandemic, and her family and legislation came together and have been doing this amazing work to help across the nation. Now, what about your state? Go to the Dr. Lorna Breen Foundation, and there is a map that shows all the different states of the nation and whether or not your state is up to date or not. And if it's not, you can click and send a message to your medical board. Okay, so we can all be a part of this. Let's do a little bit of positive peer pressure and have your state and organization have this destigmatizing language, because we know it matters. The other thing about the stigma is, let's talk about it. Just like we may say, like, oh my gosh, I tweaked my back in yoga the other day. Who is the best physical therapist or sports chiropractor in the area that I should go see? We talk about that. Why are we not talking about brain health? We should. It's beneficial to talk about the fact that we are human and that our brains too need a little bit of support. I was at a conference a few years ago, and I spoke in the morning, and then the afternoon, everyone was free to go hang out at the beach or do whatever they wanted. It was lovely. And I was on the beach, sitting in the shade, reading a book, and I realized that women around me were talking about uterine prolapse, because isn't that what we talk about on beaches? And they were saying, like, hey, who do you see for that? My uterus is hanging out my vagina, and who should I go see? Friends, if we are able to talk about uterine prolapse with random people on the beach, colleagues, or maybe people that we just met at a conference, why are we not able to talk about who's the best therapist for physicians, or what's your dose of sertraline, or whatever it is? Let's talk about it. It's beneficial. And if you work with residents and medical students and you feel comfortable sharing a story, that's really destigmatizing for them to realize, oh, hey, yeah, I've been seeing a therapist a couple of times a month ever since my residency training, and I find it very beneficial to deal with all trauma that we deal with. Wouldn't that be amazing to plant that seed for these young learners now? Because we all know that medicine is not easy. I used to always say to my patients in family medicine, we should be born and given a therapist because life is hard. I believe that's doubly true for us in medicine. So again, we need to raise the awareness, and I want you to be a part of it. Let's help stop the stigma. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. This is the perfect time to be talking about it with your colleagues, with your organization. Okay, back to the heart. R, resources. What resources does your organization have available? Hopefully something besides the EAP. Whatever it is, maybe it's peer support, maybe it's therapists, maybe it's coaching. This needs to be brought up early and often, not like, hey, welcome to our organization. Here's something that you can use if you ever have trouble. That's less than ideal. We have to do the stupid, fire extinguisher training every year. Why are we not regularly talking about and sharing resources for our mental health? I think it's super duper important. And I personally would love it to be welcome to the organization. Here's your parking card, here's your badge, and here is your coach or your therapist that you meet with twice a month, during work hours to help support you in everything that you're going through. That's what I would love to see. Finally, coming back to the solution of listening to the heart, the T is retraining the brain. Learning tips to reduce your stress, and learning that while our brains are wired for negativity, we can retrain the brain to not be positive polys, but just to realize we have a lot more ability to be deliberate about how we think. And this is the work that I do as a coach all of the time. Again, I'm not saying, oh, life is great, everything's fine. No, but you're following along because I share strategies to help you be deliberate in your thinking. Instead of thinking every day, oh my gosh, I have such a busy workload, I'm not going to be able to see all these patients today. You think, hey, this is my day. I'm going to handle it one at a time. It's a very subtle shift, but it makes a big difference. So retraining the brain is so important. Physician coaching has been around. I guess I don't know how many years it's been around, but I've been a physician coach for the last 6 years, and I've helped hundreds of physicians learn these strategies. This is why I've had a podcast and why now I'm even extending my wings and going onto YouTube to hopefully reach more people so that they're aware. There are studies that show that coaching is an evidence-based solution for burnout. Check it out in JAMA. So again, in all other areas of medicine, we think, what is the evidence-based solution for this problem, right? And we do studies. Well, studies have been done with coaching, and it has shown there is decrease in burnout and increase in self-compassion, which is all about mental health, right? Burnout is just a heavy weighing, and it's due to chronic, unrelenting stress at work. And if we can find a way to feel better, shouldn't we be doing that? I believe so, right? But meanwhile, I will continue to do this work. I will continue to speak up and say, hey, you are not the problem. Hey, physicians, you are not the problem. The organization is demanding an awful lot of you, and you have more agency than you realize. There are things that you can do that are simple that can help you feel better, including maybe even just reaching out and booking an appointment with a therapist, right? Because you deserve that. You too are human and deserve rest, recovery, support, all of those things. Okay, that's a bit of a rant today, but it is very near and dear to me that we physicians know that we too are human and we have brains that have a tendency to get sick, probably due to our high achieving abilities and the fact that we have a lot of stigma and haven't learned a lot of these strategies that can be really helpful. So I would love you to continue to learn from me. So please, if you found this helpful, hit follow and subscribe and share with a friend. Maybe share with your organization and say, hey, it's Mental Health Awareness Month. What are we doing to help make sure that we physicians stay well? All right, my dear friends, that's what I have for you today. And until next week, peace and love to all of you.